What's up, YouTube? So yesterday I was bashing the hell out of this thing. I got those new 3S batteries. Well, one new 3S battery. It's the Cryon, I think. They're the white ones, 2200 milliamp. But I already had one, so I have two, and those last like 30 minutes. It's crazy. In this particular chassis, I'm getting 30 minutes of runtime from a 2200 milliamp 3S battery. So I ran this thing for quite a bit yesterday. Bashing it real hard. It's still all dusty. I'm still waiting for my receiver to come in. I changed these. These ribs are wider, and the channels are not as deep. There's more channels, and they're not as deep, and it's a lot wider. And I'm still using the Tamiya wheels. And also, I had about four sets of these. No, I had two sets of these. And so I boiled them off, and because all the rims were broke except for like one or two maybe. One was still good and one was cracked and the rest were broke. But I boiled them off, and I threw those rims away, and I mounted these tires on my Tamiya wheels. And it hooks up real good with these. These are good all around for sure. They're K-Force Racing. They make some quality rims and tires, but the particular ones, the dish ones, let me see. Let me show you. They're still on the front of this. These dish style ones, they're kind of thin, and they're really, really, really hard. So they don't last. You could torque them off. If you have a lot of power, you could break them just from the torque. And if you hit a curb or anything like that, they usually crack. Like I ran into like a couple tires, like car tires out front, and they cracked. They don't give very much at, like something like, you get into these type, I don't know if you can see that, you probably can't see that. And then these will bend, like stuff like these. These have give to it a little bit, You need a little bit of give. Not too much, but a little bit. Anyway, so back to this. So it's got K-Force tires in the back. I have a couple sets of these, so that's cool. And then these are actually the original L303 front tires. Yeah, so that's cool. Kept them ribbed, but the stock ribs are real skinny, and the channels are real deep, and there's less grooves, there's less channels, and it's good for the dirt and stuff like that. It's not good on the street at all. It's not good on it's not very good on grass either. It'll flip you over if those channels catch. But anyway, yeah, I bashed this thing. It's crazy. 80 amp speed controller. It's the Hobbywing 3652, 3300 kV. We got the 19 tooth pinion in here. We got sway bars. We've got the Himoto oil fields in the front. I've lowered it down, the front and the back, and it rides great. It's Tamiya Tuesday, so I figured I'd start with this. But this isn't really what this video is not about. And I might be able to make it out to bash this evening if I have time. But what I'm doing is I'm doing some swaps here. I'm swapping out, I'm getting some new parts in, and I'm swapping some motors and stuff out. So first of all, this is the FS Racing Marauder. It's a great rig. Helion uses this chassis for a bunch of their stuff. Helion, whatever you call them, they don't make cars whatsoever. They don't. I guess, is that Hobbytown USA or whatever? A lot of their brands, not just them, but a lot of brands in general. Red Cat's one of them. They got a bunch of brands that all use Chinese manufacturing factories, and they just buy their cars from them, put their own electronics in it, and their own name on it. Bam, there you go. That's what Red Cat does. That's what Helion does. Veta. There's a bunch of stuff. The FTXs. I'm not sure. I can't even think of it off top right now. But there's quite a few. They use FS Racing. They use VRX Racing, and they use HSP. Those are the factories, the Chinese factories they use for their cars. Anyway, this you'll see. This is the Helion, not Helion. It's FS Racing, because this is who makes these originally before Helion puts their name on it. But anyway, this is like they have the Dominus and a couple other ones, and the FS Racing Victory X. I think that's Helion uses that as their Invictus, but I don't know if their Invictus could go, could float on water or run on water. I don't know if it's fully waterproof the way the FS Racing Victory S is, but the chassis is the same and everything like that. Just like this would be like a Dominus or whatever, or is that the short course truck they got? I think it's the Dominus. I'm not positive, but yeah, this is what it is. But this is my desert buggy. Anyway, I got off topic again. I'm taking out this 4370 and the Hobbywing 50 amp, the 10BL50, and the 4370 kV, and we're going to put it in the amp. We're going to put that in the amp. The amp runs real good on with this. This is an Arma ESC, but really it's just a Hobbywing 1040. It just got an Arma. Another rebranding type thing that I was talking about earlier. This is just a Hobbywing, and it just gets rebranded with Arma. When they buy a bunch of Hobbywings, they put their own name on it. So this has got a 20 turn 540. It's got I put a Hobbywing 1040 in it. It runs great. It's cool on 2S. Perfect speeds for like a kid or something like that. I mean, nickel metal and the stock 20 amp would be cool for a kid. And this is like a step up for a kid right here, because you're going to get, a LiPo battery, twice the amperage of the speed controller, so you're going to gain a lot of power just from a 2S and a ESC swap on this. But this is 3S capable. This motor likes 3S. I've run on 3S plenty of times. The brushes are decent quality, so they can handle 3S. But of course, you run 3S too much, or you run any brush motor too much, your brushes are burned up. And these are not rebuildable, so you would have to change the motor out. But my experience with this 3S all day, it doesn't get too hot. If it does, you can get one of them little skinny, heat sinks that go here. But I didn't find it necessary. It ran great on 3S. So that being said, we're going brushless with this. So we have the 4370 kV brushless motor, and then we're going to have the 50 amp Hobbywing brushless ESC. Hopefully the transmission holds up. If I blow a diff out, I will, upgrade the diff to the metal diff that they do sell. But I'm going to leave stock diff in there for now and see what happens. And so this setup here, the Arma and the 20 turn, is going to go in here. As you know, I did have this brushless for a while, but this thing is the chassis is garbage. It is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is straight up trash. That's the reason why people are, blowing diffs and gears are always eaten up and everything like that. And it's because the chassis just flexes so much, Especially if you have a lot of power in this thing, it's going to flex even more. And when the chassis flexes like that, the gear tolerances, they come out of spec, and they end up chewing themselves up, So it's that simple. So I went and I took the brushless out of here. I put that in my Arma, which is way better suited for brushless than this. Even back to the situation at hand, I always go off topic. It's what I do. You guys love it. Just playing. Anyway, so I changed this to brushless. I changed this back to brushed because a brushless is just too much for this thing. Like I said, do I have to really show you? This thing is just, this is supposed to be the brace. Okay. And then here is the chassis. See that? It's crazy. And that's with one hand, just barely pushing on it. Anyway, so we're going brushed again, but this is straight garbage. Don't buy this. It's like $15 or whatever. It's supposed to be a 12 turn 550. It's supposed to be a replacement for the Arma. They were saying it was an Arma replacement basically, or a Titan replacement, because they're both 12 turn 550s. This is not 12 turn. I'm telling you right now, I've had a bunch of 550 motors. This isn't 12 turn. It's not even close to it. It's 20 or 23 turn. It's about as slow as the FS Racing, maybe a little slower than the FS Racing 550, and I know that's 20 turn. Okay, so this thing is really, really, really slow. Don't buy it. You're wasting your time. It's false advertised, okay? It's not 12 turns. And if it is 12 turns, then I just got a bad one because this thing turns really, really low RPM. So we're getting rid of it. And we're putting this in it. And this is a good ripping setup right here. It'll rip, you know. You get a 3S battery in here with that motor, and this thing right here will rip. Cool. With that being said, it's going to need some serious bracings to help out this thin, paper-thin garbage chassis, you know. And I couldn't find any bracing for this. I mean, you could probably make one. You could probably 3D print one that's made out of some super solid plastic or something like that. Maybe you could cut aluminum and put it here. That's what it would need, a thick aluminum brace. Is what it should have. Yeah, the servo was hitting right there, the mount. I had to move it just a little, just to give it that little bit of tolerance, you see, right there. Yep. Anyway, I mean, it's cool. It comes with big bores and stuff like that, and it comes with sway bars. They get you to buy it like, oh man, big bores and sway bars. You know, but then again, it comes with stuff like this, you know, that will just bend right off, you know. So freaking flexible. This one's pretty flexible too, but not as bad. But this one is seriously flexible, and it's 4-wheel drive, and you know, this kind of wobbles around a lot. I almost dropped something over there. It's like a body clip. Anyhow, so with this motor, and with this ESC, this thing will rip again. You know, running on 2S, just fool around, have fun, put a 3S on it, and you know, get some good speed out of it. Because I definitely know that a 20-turn motor with the 1040 on 3S rips. Is it going to be the fastest brushless? Yeah, it will. Like a 3000, 3100, 3000 kV on 2S will be the same as like a, you know, like a 20-turn brushed on well, excuse me, a 3000 kV on 2S is about the same as a 20-turn motor on brush motor on 3S. They feel about the same power. Of course, you could always put a 3S in that 3000 kV brushless motor, and you're going to be faster. But we're talking higher turned brushed motors here. Anyway, so that's what's swapping out. We're putting in 4370 brushless, 50 amp Hobbywing. It's going in here. And this setup here, 1040 Hobbywing / Arma, and the 20 turn is going in here. And this stuff's just going to be backup stuff. Also, I decided to use my 13.5, the 13.5 sensor in here because everything matches. And it's going to look real good. I just have to solder these connectors on because it's got these bullet style connectors, these old school style ones on this Tamiya ESC. And so I'm going to have to solder those on there. I hooked this up. The problem with OC Day, I did not enjoy myself. The thing about OC Day, the motors are great, just like Ghoul RC. I think they're the exact same company. Don't hold me to that though, but their programmers work. The ESCs are hit and miss. Hit and miss. So I got this one. I hooked it up. Everything was hooked up correctly. And I plugged in a 2S battery. As soon as I plugged in the battery, I did not even turn the switch on yet. There's something in here fried. Just from battery power getting put to it. So maybe it was the BEC. Maybe the Beck fried in here. Must have been. But I'm going to take it apart and mess with it. But for now, they're going to send me a replacement though, because I didn't get a chance to use it. But for now, we're going to run the Tamiya. And it's censored. We're going to run that censored. And this is going to be in my Grampus, which is also another Helion. That's funny. Helion sells this as what? The Conquest and then a couple other things. This is the chassis Helion uses. And they get this one from HSP. And then their Dominus and their couple other, their short course truck and stuff like that, they get this one from VRX. And then they got, what's that, the Rock Rider? The Rock Riders VRX Octane XL. You know what I'm saying? And then FTX uses the VRX also, the VRX Octane. So I mean, that happens quite a bit. You know, you got the new Ducono, Red Cat Ducono that's replacing the Volcano, and that's an HSP Wolverine. You know what I'm saying? And the Volcano was the HSP Brontosaurus. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of manufacturers, or not manufacturers, a lot of brands, a lot of companies get their cars from Chinese manufacturers and just put their own name on it. So, you know, everyone's like, Chinese this and Chinese, what's Chinese? They don't even realize they're driving Chinese stuff. You know? Oh, I got this piece of shit RC from China. Blah, 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 blah. At the same time, they're driving a Red Cat or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or shit, Traxxas, they're from Taiwan. You know, a lot of things get researched and developed here. A lot of companies like Traxxas, Team Associated, Losi. I think Losi and Team Associated are still in California. Research and development. Traxxas is in Texas. But the manufacturing still happens overseas, and that's just the way it is. Unless you get Tamiya shit, you know, Japanese stuff. It always has been and it always will be. It's made in Japan. It's a Japanese product. 100%, which is good shit, actually. People talk about their Tamiya like, oh, I would never run brushless in here and stuff like that. I don't know what you're talking about, man. If you've actually built them, then you would know. You could look at the gears and tolerances and materials, and you will be able to tell if it could take a brushless or not. You know what I mean? You open up some gearboxes, you're like, oh, I don't know about this, man. This doesn't look too good. Like this thing. This thing might have metal diffs in it, but so what? The diff cases are made out of rubber, basically. You know what I'm saying? This thing might have sway bars, but so what? The thing flexes around like crazy. Sway bars do no good. You know? It's got a metal drive shaft, but so what? This chassis flexes and bends so much, it doesn't help. So some things, you know, you can just look at it and be like, if I run brushless in this, you know, I'm going to eat up my drivetrain. Now this is real flexible, solid, stuff like that. I mean, not solid, but flexible. The bottoms are solid right here. It's flexible. You know, it's going to take a little bit of a beating. But the drivetrain, it will suffer. So stuff like this doesn't need to be brushless with a 2.3S motor. It needs to have something more mild in it, you know. This is perfect for brushless. This plastics, this ECX stuff is strong, very strong. And this is one of their bottom versions. This is like the circuit, is the amp. But just look at this stuff compared to something like that, you know. Even though these look beefy, they're not. You know what I mean? This is probably the best part of this thing, though, are these. To be honest with you, they're decent. Everything else is not very good. It's got decent lower A-arms. They're a little bit too flimsy for being so rigid looking. They're a little bit too flimsy. The worst thing is this chassis. If you can see, that's how thin it is. All the way up. That's it. Stuff like this doesn't need to be brushless. But this one's fine. It's got a plastic or nylon diff, I guess. But you get the metal diff gear upgrade and you're golden. I've seen plenty of people run these on brushless, no problems. Everyone who has this thing breaks on them. They eat up their gears. They eat up everything on them in a matter of a few battery packs if you keep running on brushless. So we're going to make that brushed. But I'll run it on 3S every once in a while just to get my kicks. Just to see this thing rip. So we'll have a video of this on 2.3S brushed. We're going to have a video on this brushless on 2.3S. We'll get a video on this one with the new motor, 13.5 and the Tamiya ESE, 13.5 censored. And this one I haven't talked about yet. This one's got an 80 amp speed controller and a 5200 kV motor coming in. Beast, and I'm going to up the pinion from, this has got a small pinion, I think it's 13 or 14. I'm going to go, I might go 21. I might go 21. I might not. I might just go 17 with it. and go from 13 to 17 with the extra KV. This thing's going to be crazy, crazy fast. Gonna run it on 2S mostly, but 3S just for like speed run messing around. Yeah. So video on that. We'll be here in a few days when I get my stuff, and we'll get us some videos in a few days of all these. You know, so all 4 of these are gonna have different power plants. 5200, 13.5, 4370, and a lower turn, higher RPM brushed setup that can run 3S with the Heavyweight 1040 AC. And then of course the Beast. This is one to me that for sure could run brushless power. It's got real beefy transmission gears. They're really thick and really huge. No problem with that. And it's got metal diff gears that seem really well built and good tolerances. It does not have a slipper clutch though. I'm not sure if we could add one or not. But this for sure could take brushless power all day, you know. I've seen people running this bone stock brushless with no upgrades whatsoever besides a crazy brushless motor in it. That's basically what I'm doing. You know, I've got a few upgrades. You know, I've got some shocks, some suspension, some shock towers. You know, the carbon fiber suspension stays. I got some sway bars and things like that. But basically, the transmission is still stock with just ball bearings, and it runs it fine. And this one would run brushless fine too, but it runs so fast brushed. It's so fast brushed on 3S with that 550 19 turn turbo speed with all that torque and power. And it runs cool as ice water. I've got some electric fans on it and everything like that. It doesn't even get hot. And so, no need to change out the brushes, but you could, no problem. And you could upgrade to metal diffs if you needed to. No problem. It's a TTO 2 chassis, so it's got unlimited upgradable parts for it as far as drivetrain, you know. Pinion gears, spur gears, drive shafts, you know, dog bones, you know, diffs, all that kind of stuff all day. Anyway, so I just wanted to give you guys an update. I'm going to be putting a new power plant in this, and that. All right, guys? Peace.